I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking about get them to start thinking about and missing you. Well, if you really care about somebody and you're really interested in making a connection with that person, having a romantic relationship with that person, you really have to form a strong bond and connection with them in order for them to feel your absence. But it's really important how you behave in those moments with that person, that you're showing them consistently that you can be there for them, that they can count on you, that they can open up to you, that they can be themselves with you. And when you do those things, it really puts you in a position for people to value you, and when they do have distance from you, to think about and miss you.
Exactly. And there's no magic spell to get somebody to obsess over you or to beg for you or anything like that. But there are just simple tools that we can do to work on ourselves, to work on our own self-acceptance and self-love, and also to treat other people very well and in a way that keeps that bond and connection growing.
Mm-hmm. It has a lot to do with behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? People take things very personally when somebody leaves them and they feel like I've been rejected. A lot of times it's really your behavior that has gotten you to be rejected, right? Because if you're doing things that are turning people off, making them feel smothered, making them feel abandoned, those are the main ones, they're going to ultimately feel disconnected from you more and more. And think about it, it's attraction. So you can lose the intensity of an attraction, and a lot of it is behavior. Mm-hmm. So when you change your behavior, you will see that many people that you thought were out of your league will be interested in you.
Right. And a lot of this behavior is stemming from our own internal processes, how we look at ourselves, how we see the world through our past experiences. So this is why we harp on so much on this channel, that internal work, that emotional health work.
Those areas that you've been wounded, those attachment issues are ultimately coming up again and again in your romantic connections. And so if you want somebody to miss you, then you've got to really show up in their life in a way that makes them feel like, wow, this person, I can count on them. They're there for me. When I'm going through a hard time, they listen to me.
I feel comfortable around them.
Yeah, you feel safe. That's
right.
A big one. So we're going to give you some specific things that you can do that is going to make it more likely for that person to miss you. And this works if you're going through a breakup, or if you're dating somebody new. It doesn't matter. It works with all of our romantic connections. And that's the important thing to learn, is when you implement different behaviors, you will get different results.
Exactly.
Right?
All right, let's hear it.
Okay. So the first one, you want to focus on being in the present with somebody. You want to focus on the connection. What is that like when you're with them? Are you having memorable moments where you're laughing with them, or just doing things that they're always going to think back to? Oh, remember the time we did this? Remember the time we went to that concert and this thing happened? And creating memorable moments with them. If they say to you, I really love to go to the beach, are you going to the beach with them? That's one way to do it. Think about it. If they really enjoy a specific activity and you say, hey, your favorite comedian's coming to town, we should go see him. they're going to be, well, yeah, that's a great idea. I can't believe you offered to do that. You know?
So being aware and present, listening to your partner, and also on a very fundamental level, things like eye contact, things like touch can be so bonding. When you think about what bonds a tiny baby to their parents, it's hearing their voice, it's the time that the parent takes to get to know the child. And of course, this is not your child or your parent that you're going out on a date with or that you're dating, but a lot of those same concepts apply. The eye contact is bonding. That touch can be very bonding. So don't miss even those small details.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a cultural component to that. In some areas of the world, eye contact isn't as accepted, but with your discretion, use those somatic, those body type of communication with one another to connect.
Yeah, it really does make a difference on the connection and being present with them. You have to learn to be attuned to somebody, and the more you can do that, the more they're going to feel a connection with you and care about you more and miss you when you're not around.
Exactly.
What's the next one?
The next big one is playfulness. As adults, we have forgotten how to play, how to have fun, how to laugh, and how to explore like children do. And so having this almost childlike playfulness in your dates or in your intentional time with your partner can make a world of a difference. And going back to that feeling of safety, when somebody does feel safe, they are able to be creative, they are able to explore and have fun. That's ultimately what a lot of dating is about. That's ultimately what a lot of that connection is about, is enjoyment, is being able to make meaning out of these moments. So I cannot stress enough playfulness.
It's really big. I mean, when I think back to like the Applebee's girl that I bring up so much, one of my favorite things about her is that was her sense of humor, and her ability to banter was just incredible. And so it always meant you were always like having a good time because she could make a joke about whatever, and she was always present to make those jokes. And that was very attractive because you don't see that in a lot of people, So that's one of those things that stands out about somebody, Can you laugh with them and play with them? But if you don't feel safe, if you feel rejected, if you feel like they're, gonna put you down or be demeaning about a specific thing that you enjoy, then you don't feel like you can be your true self with them.
Exactly. Yeah. It can be a challenge when you're not present, then you're unable to click or really, be comfortable to make those types of jokes.
Yeah.
I will say be careful in teasing your partner. What we're not saying here is to pick on them or use their insecurities as a way to make them laugh or anything like that. Use things in your environment. Don't try to hurt them with humor. So that's the only disclaimer I've got with that one.
Yep. Good point, though.
All right, what's next?
Okay. If you're afraid to be alone, you're going to wind up alone. I've seen it again and again over the years. The very thing we're afraid of, we often cause to happen. Why? Because we're not balanced within ourselves. And we're trying to overcompensate for something, but it becomes unnatural in the connection and it turns the other person off. So when somebody needs a little bit of space and you're not giving it to them, you just keep blowing up their phone, it makes them lose attraction quickly. And I talked to a girl this morning who did that. It was interesting. She's like, how do I break these patterns? And the interesting thing is she could point out how one particular guy was coming on very strong with her, and it made her turned off by him. But she couldn't recognize that she was doing that very thing to the guy that she did like. So I'm like, you're that person in this relationship. The way he was with you that you didn't like, you're that way with him that he doesn't like.
Yeah, and sometimes it can help putting in that perspective.
Yeah.
When you're in it, it can be really hard to identify it or figure out that you're the one acting that way. And like we mentioned in the beginning, a lot of these behaviors are stemming from those insecurities.
Yep.
And ones that we probably spent a long time with growing up. And so part of this work is also looking back at those insecurities and seeing new ways to manage them, ways to be able to feel more secure, and really self-soothing. when we're unable to tell ourselves that it's going to be okay, and when we're unable to entertain our own emotions, then sometimes we can dump all of it on our partner. Yep. Sometimes there's this hidden expectation of, when I'm in a romantic partnership, they are responsible now with me for all my feelings. And, a reminder from before, I know we were making a lot of parent-child analogies here, but this is not your parent and this is not your child. This is a partner, an equal, somebody who also has responsibility for their emotions, and you have responsibilities for yours.
That's a great point. So what we're trying to say there is, don't think that your partner is going to treat you like your parents. Mm-hmm. And if you think that your partner should be treating you like your parents did and wait on you, handle your needs like your parents did, then that's your issue that you've got to work through. That's an early developmental arrest. And you better do those, especially the creative healing course, to work through that.
Yeah. And not to say that there's anything wrong with being excited about having a partner and wanting to spend more time with them, but you also want to be conscious of their emotions and what might be coming up for them. We don't want to overwhelm somebody or look too eager or even too available. Mm-hmm. So the reason for this is that you want to show that you also have your own independent life, and that you can be okay by yourself and also enjoy their presence, that you're not fully dependent on them. Mm-hmm. That's often the thing that overwhelms other people.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Okay, the next one. You want to make the mundane memorable. Okay? If you really want people to attach to you and feel good with you and really miss you when you're gone, you gotta make life fun all the time or on a consistent basis. Not just when you plan on going on vacation every 4 months. Yeah. Life, think about daily life. You go to work, you have struggles with your boss, sometimes you have responsibilities, sometimes you have family obligations, or you have to help with family, or you have kids. And so those things can get tiring or draining or, overwhelming or stressful. Mm-hmm. But the more that you are having a good time with that person, realizing that you're going to have struggles in life, but just kind of riding it out and having a good time, the more they're going to enjoy the connection. Not if you're stressed out and irritated and grumpy every day, all day. People aren't going to want to be around you.
Right. And so much of this has to do with being able to manage your own emotions that come up. It's going to happen that stressors do happen in life. Mm-hmm. And that's really oftentimes what I see being the breaking point in a lot of relationships. Things can go fine for a year, 2 years, then a sudden unexpected event happens in one partner's life and everything crumbles. Yep. So being able to be present in the mundane, but also realizing that how you handle the mundane stressors is important, because it gives you just a glimpse of how you will handle bigger stressors.
That's a great point. Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right, the next one. You want to give space for wonder and mystery. Now, we had mentioned some of this before, that sometimes, especially in the beginning of a relationship, you can be so eager to spend all of your time with a partner. And the reason why we don't suggest doing this is because you don't want to burn out too quickly. Mm-hmm. Of course, we believe that people are, an endless amount of information and, new news to explore and discover. I think that's endless. There's always something new that you can learn about somebody. Mm-hmm. However, that space gives your mind time to process, and really you start missing somebody in the space. Yeah. Sometimes when you're in front of a person, it's hard to say, well, I miss you. Well, you're there with them. You're spending that time. You're being intentional. Mm-hmm. But it really is in that time apart where the longing starts to fester.
Yeah.
That wording was very dramatic. It starts to fester.
It's gotta fester. But it's true, because when you don't soothe your anxiety, you don't allow them to wonder and miss you. People say, like, the absence makes the heart grow fonder, and there's truth to that. Right? When you're away from each other, you think about each other. You're not really thinking about each other if you're in front of each other. Yeah. How can you give somebody the space to miss you if you're there with them all the time? Think about it. You're wanting them to miss you. You want them to think about you. The biggest thing you have to do there to have that happen is be away from each other. It doesn't have to be extended amount of time, but doing things with your friends and your family,
Yeah.
doing other things, that makes you really value each other more when you're with each other.
And a topic that we talk about every now and again is this concept of interdependence, where you're able to be independent, but also dependent at the right moments with your partner. And so being able to give space and give time, have your own experiences, actually grows you closer. So I'm going to say that again. Space and time can actually grow you closer because you are having your own experiences to be able to then share with them from your perspective, and they're having their own experiences that they're going to see from a different lens that they can share with you. And so it can sound very scary and maybe counterintuitive. Oh no, space, that's going to separate us, because that's, you know, what our bodies are telling us sometimes, and biologically sometimes we can be wired to want to connect. But at the same time, that space allows for so much more connection than you would imagine.
You may have heard me say it's the silence between the notes that creates the music. If you think of it like that. If we just put your hand on the piano and press down on the keys, it's just going to go brrrr. Where's, you know what I mean? That's just a noise. You know what I mean? Nobody likes the noise,
Jam to it.
but when you go in between and, you know, there's spaces between it,
Right.
that's where you get the music. You know what I mean? And that's where it makes it interesting.
Exactly.
Do you just go home and bang your head on the piano and just, is that what you do after a long day? You just,
I'm an artist. Excuse me.
You fall asleep with your head on the keys.
I hit record and just,
Durr.
I don't know, it might be
For
more
a couple
popular
of minutes
than,
of,
it's going to be the new hit single. And that's what I'll be, single.
Victoria falls asleep. One other point we want to talk about. Slow is better. Okay? I heard something recently I had never heard before. Okay, you ready for this one?
I don't know.
This is wild. A girl I talked to went on a date, a first date with a guy, and it was the guy's idea, I'm glad you're sitting down, to have both parents come on the first date.
Okay, we need context here. What culture were they?
Well, they're Muslim.
Okay, this is making more sense.
Yes. But we've dealt with a lot of Muslim couples or breakups over the years, but I've never heard of parents meeting on the first date.
Yeah.
So what do you think happened? It overwhelmed. It overwhelmed the guy. And what I think happened, part of it is that she immediately thought, wow, this guy is really serious about me. And I just think it set off like some attachment issues within her, that she thought, wow, this guy is so serious about me more than the other guys, that I could really be like, are you serious about this? Is this really what you want? And before she knew it, this guy was ghosting her.
Wow.
And it was rough because, you know, when somebody comes on that strong, you feel like, wow, do they really mean it? But I'm telling you guys, I've been doing this a long time. It's better to go slow, to get to know people, to understand what their attachment issues are, to understand who they are, what are their values, what are they really looking for. I mean, clearly, his behavior and his words did not line up.
Well, also finding out about the family. You know, what culture does a person come from? Because that plays a lot into it.
Sure.
You know, I can see her taking this as a personal rejection that might have been his own decision, but it also might have been his family's decision. And in some collective cultures, they see it less individualistic, to where it's not, you know, you decide all the aspects of your future, but we as a family decide what's going to be best for our family moving forward. So in that situation, you know, putting that into context, there might have been more going on than just, you know, he wasn't into it and was personally rejecting her. It might have been a family decision. It might have been, well, they talked about it and everybody had their own opinions that influenced him in some sort of way, and
It's
they made a collective decision.
Certainly possible. Based on what she knew, that was not the case. Based on what she was getting, the mom was very excited about her, thought she was great and amazing. Now that, You don't know if it's necessarily true. I mean, we've seen that a
Right.
million times.
Yeah.
But that's how they presented it to her. It's
I
like,
see.
no, we think you're great and this and that. Now, you never know, because we have seen so many mothers sabotage things over the years, right? But the point is that you gotta get to know somebody slowly over time. And the longer you really get to see who they are, the more likely you're gonna know, okay, this person's not perfect. They have issues with this, and this, but I'm not perfect and I have issues with this, and that. And the more likely you're going to be accepting of each other and say, well, I know them, but I still love them anyway. And you get to know each other a little bit over time. Mm-hmm. But I think it scared the hell out of him.
Oh, probably.
You know, because he probably thought, oh my God, what if he thought the parents were going to say no and they said yes? And so he was like, wait a minute. I thought I was going to get a no.
But he also brought his parents.
Yeah, both parents.
Oh,
both
wow.
sets of parents were there. But on a first date, that is too much. That is too much. You don't even know the person. And now you've got 6 people there for a first date.
It is a lot. I understand the cultural background.
Yeah.
Though. You know, for some cultures that is very acceptable.
But I've never heard of a first date before.
I don't
Have
know.
you?
What country were they in?
They live in the U.S.
I see.
So, you know, I totally understand getting parents involved and approved and all those things, and that's fine. However, the first date, that's too much. It's just too overwhelming. And look what happened. It didn't work out, right? So, not surprised.
Yeah, there's a lot that you have to consider, and also, like you had said, values what's important to somebody, how they do want to see their future, and these are things that you do find out slowly and gradually. And remember, somebody can tell you from the very first date, it might seem like, oh my gosh, we're moving so fast, this is great. They can tell you all about their lives. You can meet the parents, and then you realize over time, wow, this person isn't who I thought they were. I really still did not know them. I wish I would have seen them through all the different seasons of at least a year, and through at least a wider range of different emotions.
Yep. You know, and you have to show patience. That's one of the hardest things for people to do, is sit with uncertainty. If you're going through a breakup right now and you're sitting with uncertainty, it's very difficult. But I always encourage you guys to stay motivated, because the worst thing you could do is give up on yourself and the personal growth just because your ex is showing a low interest right now. Because their interest level could change and you won't be ready. Or they could not change and you'll find somebody else that you're totally head over heels for, and you're not ready for them either. You go back to the same mistakes. So you always want to stay focused on personal growth regardless of what's going on.
If that is your one takeaway from this entire video,
Yep.
I'm okay with that.
But these are just some specific examples on behaviors that you can do, that you can consistently implement with somebody to keep the attraction strong, to keep it going good and healthy, and that way people have time and space to really miss you and value you. Okay? So hopefully this one's been helpful to you. Of course, if you want to get our help personally, you could go to my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.